Well, fellow hockey fans, we made it through January. We're officially in February, and I've really enjoyed the beginning of this crazy season. I mean, it's seen some insane games and some thrilling finishes and some exciting moments so far. And we're only about two and a half about 2.5 weeks through the season. We're heading to the month of February, which in a normal season is usually like the last month before playoff races get intense, but that's gonna push back a bit. But it's amazing, and it ended with a bang with that crazy 8-5 game in Edmonton between the Oilers and the Senators. Uh, uh, Connor McDavid a goal with 4 assists. Draisaitl with 6 helpers. Oh my goodness. But I'll just uh, report on the standings and let them tell the story. First off, the East Division, Washington's on a roll. They're the only team left that hasn't lost in regulation. 15 points. They're tied in points with Philly, though. Washington has the better point percentage. They played one less game than the Flyers have. Boston's in third at with 12 points. Pittsburgh at 5-3-1 has 11, and then below that division playoff line, New Jersey and Buffalo with 10 points each. So New Jersey has played one fewer game, and they just beat the Sabres in the early game. And the New York teams at the bottom. This is interesting. Now, the beginning of a season isn't usually an indicator on how the season is going to go, especially in hockey. But it is telling because remember, top four teams in each of these four new regionally grouped divisions for this season. Top four teams in each division make the playoffs. It's the same format that was used from '82 to '93. And so far, it's Washington, Philly, Boston, and Pittsburgh above that line. So and New Jersey is a point out of it. So is Buffalo, but the New York teams being the bottom, that's kind of troubling. The Islanders, especially, because the Islanders uh, reached the Eastern Conference Final last year, and things need to kind of pick up with them. Remember, they've had some bad losses this season, and Varlamov, after getting out to that start where nobody was scoring on him, now everybody's scoring on him. So it's getting kind of shaky in Long Island. But again, it's a long season. It's a short season, but it's a long season. Very few teams have played 10 games by this point, so there's a lot of hockey left. Uh, well, on the flip side, Buffalo, New Jersey, they could make noise if they stay this way. Who knows? We could see some shocking playoff clinches here. We could see Pittsburgh's playoff streak, which started all the way back in the 06-07 season, which was Crosby's second in the NHL. We could see that come to an end. But again, it's early. There's a lot of hockey to go. The North Division, or the Canadian Division, as it's commonly known, Toronto is in first place, as many expected, 7-2-1, 15 points. Montreal is in second with 12. Vancouver has 12. Montreal has played three fewer games, so that puts them in second. Uh, Winnipeg is 10. Edmonton is 10. Calgary has 7 points at 3-3-1, and Ottawa. Oh my God. Oh boy. 1-7-1. They won their first game of the season and haven't won a game since, and only have 1 point in the last 8 games. That is not good. And considering they got shellacked, they've been getting shellacked all season so far by Vancouver and by Edmonton just recently. This is terrible. This is terrible because I honestly thought, now I didn't have Ottawa making the playoffs, but I thought Ottawa would be better than this. And it's been said that they're on pace to, well, they're on pace to pretty much match their horrible inaugural season back in '92, '93. Yeah, this is very bad for Ottawa, especially since there were kind of rumblings and boastings that this team could see some vast improvements and possibly make the playoffs. But so far, let's see. So far, it's a big shakeup because the top four I predicted for the North Division was Toronto, Edmonton, Calgary, and Montreal. I had Toronto, Edmonton 1-2 in that division. Toronto is really doing well. Toronto's doing well though. Leafs fans still think it's not enough. 7-2-1. That's pretty damn good. And 15 points, which leads the league. Um, but but in Montreal, they're really kicking ass. Um, they had their first regulation loss just recently this past Saturday when they got shut out by the Flames. But the Alberta teams, well, Calgary hasn't played a lot of games, but Edmonton's played 11, and they're still out of behind the playoff line. And it's basically because the Oilers are basically Connor and Draisaitl with just a hint of Nugent Hopkins. Yeah, you need more depth than that. You really do. People who say the Avalanche are a one-line team clearly haven't seen the Oilers. That team is based. That team is the Connor and Leon show. Yet I picked them to finish second because I actually thought we might see that depth. No, we really haven't. We really have not. And things need to kind of change for the Oilers. Other people not named Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and yes, I'll throw Ryan Nugent Hopkins in there, need to kind of really produce in bunches. Otherwise, they're going to be looking at a long off season. That's all I have to say. The Central. Now, the Central's been kind of wonky because the outbreaks have hit a few teams and have affected schedules. Like Dallas got hit with it. They had to start late. And Tampa, and it's affected a lot of the games. Because remember, all the games are divisional. But this is how it looks. Florida. If I said Washington was the only team, it's one or two teams. Florida hasn't lost a regulation either. Florida leading the Central heading into February at 11 points at 5-0-1. Columbus has 11 points too, but they're 4-3-3. They've played 4 more games in Florida, but still they're up there. Carolina, who's a big playoff threat, 5-1-0, 10 points. The Dallas Stars, who the last year's runners-up in the Stanley Cup, at 4-1-1 and 9 points. The Stanley Cup champions themselves, the Lightning, have the same exact record. Blackhawks have 9 points also. So Blackhawks have 9 points also. Nashville has 8 at 4-4, and Detroit is 2-6-2 with 6 points. I kind of thought Detroit would be a little bit better by then too, but it hasn't really seemed to be the case. Chicago, uh, they're rebuilding, and it does kind of show up. But like I said, the standings kind of oblong. In Nashville, my goodness, Nashville has been going backwards a bit, and this doesn't look good. But Florida, let's go on a positive note here. Florida. Now I don't know if they're going to stay up there or not, but it'll be very interesting if Florida actually does stay above the Central playoff line and actually gets in. Even better if they actually win the division. You got Columbus and Carolina and Dallas. Uh, and the thing is, but here's the thing: 3 of the current top 4, they haven't played a whole bunch of games. Like I said, they've been affected by outbreaks. Dallas had one, and Carolina had one. It's affected both Florida teams because they were set to play those teams, and games have been shuffled around. But once those games start getting made up, we'll really see what the Central looks like. We may see Tampa Bay on top by around the end of February, probably. But it should be very interesting to see how this goes. We're still waiting for that Stanley Cup rematch this regular season because Dallas and Tampa, they're set for 8 meetings, and they haven't faced each other yet. So it's going to be pretty interesting. And now in the West Division, you got the Blues and the Avalanche tied at 13 points, but St. Louis has played one fewer game. Minnesota, who's coming off that recent overtime win against us, 6-4 with 12 points. Vegas has 11 points, and Vegas has been kind of affected by San Jose's. No, Vegas has their own outbreak. It's affected theirs in San Jose's games that are postponed. Vegas has 11 points at 5-1-1. The Kings have 8 points. So do the Ducks, but the Kings have played 2 fewer games. The Coyotes have 7, and San Jose has 6. The Central, the West, I mean, it's pretty much going like I expected. St. Louis, Colorado, Vegas, everybody has those 3 as the top teams in the West Division. The 4th team's kind of a wild card. But for most of the time, But so far throughout January, it's been LA and Minnesota kind of swapping that fourth wheel role in the West Division because it's pretty much a foregone conclusion that the Knights, the Avalanche, and the Blues are going to be three-fourths of that Western Conference, Western Division. I mean, uh, playoff picture, playoff tournament. Uh, the fourth team's a walk on it, and I did pick the Kings to join those three in the Western Division playoffs. I did, and it does kind of look like they're in pretty decent shape. It could be better. It really could be better. Um, but they are in pretty decent shape. They're scoring 3 goals a game, which is pretty good, and they managed to get wins against. They have 3 wins, and they managed to beat Colorado in one of those games, and they beat. I think they beat Minnesota in one. I forget who the third one was against. That might have been St. Louis, but they have proven at the moment that they can hang with those top teams in the Western Division. Thing is, will it stay that way? That's the thing. And the Ducks, oh boy, the Ducks are kind of a mess, and Arizona's a bigger mess. That's why I didn't pick either one of them. Even though Arizona actually made the playoffs last year, that team's just all sorts of awful. And the Sharks, the less I say about them, the better. But yeah, so it's the West is pretty much going to shape it up like I expected. But February will tell the tale regarding all 4 of these divisions. And yeah, so it's been a very fruitful opening to the hockey season. Hockey is back and better than ever, if that's even possible. Uh, and from an Avalanche fan's perspective, I mean, 6-3-1, 6-3-1 heading to February. That's amazing. That's a bit more than we could ask for because the Avs are really kicking ass. The power play is just amazing. One of the best power plays in the league. Um, but the game that just played, the overtime loss, that was only the second game. It was only the second game out of 10 where we did not have a power play goal. But the power play is just it's a well-oiled machine. It's beautiful, and the penalty kills been pretty good. So we're pretty much on all cylinders. We just need to keep our foot on the gas, and of course the news is out that McKinnon's got a lower body injury. And my fingers are crossed that he's not out for too long. But yeah, so that's pretty much the story with the Avalanche and with the whole season. And February is here, so I'll have another monthly recap once February's action ends in 4 weeks exactly. So with that, I say enjoy this crazy short hockey season, and I'll be back on YouTube next week to recap the Super Bowl.